That urge to constantly learn, to pick up new skills, to just feel in the know can be exhilarating. But let's be honest, sometimes it feels like trying to drink from a fire hose, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a defining characteristic of our information-rich age.
Yeah.
That constant need to upskill and acquire new knowledge. It can definitely feel overwhelming if you don't have effective strategies.
And that feeling of information overload is exactly where we're diving in today. You're going to explore the core principles from the book, How to Learn Almost Anything in 48 Hours by Tansal Aali, as seen through the experiences of a fictional character named Raghav.
Right.
Now, the title might grab your attention, but what's truly valuable are the practical techniques for learning more effectively and the mindset shifts the book advocates.
Agreed. While a catchy title can draw you in, the real substance, I think, lies in the actionable methods and the fundamental understanding of how we learn best that the book offers.
Exactly. Think about, the piles of articles you've saved, the research you've meant to get to, your own notes that sometimes feel like a foreign language.
Ah.
Our mission in this deep dive is to extract the most powerful and immediately applicable insights from this book. We want to equip you with strategies to learn smarter, remember longer, and approach any learning challenge with confidence, all without feeling like your brain is going into meltdown. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with, a cornerstone of learning, memory.
Yeah, and what's fascinating right from the start of the book section on memory techniques is this idea that memory isn't some fixed trait you're born with. It's a skill, like a muscle that can be trained and significantly improved.
Right, and the book introduces this through Raghav's introduction to the memory palace technique. When he first heard the term, he was picturing something quite literal, almost like constructing a physical building in his mind to store memories.
Which is completely understandable, actually. The name itself kind of conjures up images of grand structures, doesn't it?
Totally. But as he delved deeper, Raghav began to see the potential. The fundamental concept is to utilize familiar locations, your home, your daily commute, your favorite park, as mental containers for information.
Precisely. Your brain already possesses incredibly detailed spatial maps of these familiar places. So, by consciously linking near information to specific points within these, well-established mental landscapes, you're essentially tapping into existing neural networks, making recall much, much more efficient.
So Raghav decided to give it a try, starting with his own home, just as the book suggested. He mentally walked through each room, paying attention to details. Then came the ingenious part, associating pieces of information with specific locations.
Mm-hmm.
To remember photosynthesis, for instance, he vividly imagined his living room sofa covered in bright green leaves soaking up sunlight.
And the more vivid and even slightly bizarre the association, the more likely it is to stick. Our brains are exceptionally good at remembering unusual or emotionally charged images. It creates a stronger neural trace.
He did have his initial reservations, thinking the whole thing sounded a bit fantastical, even a bit filmy, as he put it.
Yeah, I can see that.
But he persevered. In his kitchen, he tackled Newton's laws of motion, picturing a bright red apple suspended above his dining table, suddenly plummeting down. He connected the first law to the stillness of the apple before its fall.
That act of creating a mini narrative or a strong visual link between the concept and the specific location is key. It's not just about placing an image, it's about forging a memorable connection.
And here's where it got really interesting. Later that day, Raghav tested himself while on a walk. He thought about photosynthesis, and instantly that vibrant green leaf sofa popped into his mind.
Wow.
He then recalled Newton's laws, and there was the vivid image of the falling apple. He felt like he'd stumbled upon a secret weapon for his memory.
That immediate and effortless recall is such powerful reinforcement, isn't it? It demonstrates the effectiveness of the technique and helps to transfer the information from short-term to more robust long-term memory through this spatial encoding and vivid visualization.
The book also emphasized the sheer power of visualization itself, making those mental images as colorful, detailed, and even engaging multiple senses if possible to really imprint them onto your memory.
Right.
Raghav even had a dream that night about a literal memory palace with different rooms housing various pieces of information, entire forests representing photosynthesis, rooms filled with falling apples for Newton's laws, even his old math teacher pointing at complex formulas.
That dream state really highlights the immersive potential of the memory palace. When you engage multiple sensory elements in your visualizations, even unconsciously in a dream, it can further solidify those memory traces. It's quite amazing.
Okay, so Raghav's feeling pretty confident about his enhanced memory, but then the realization hits. Okay, remembering is great, But what about when I need to process and absorb vast amounts of information quickly? This leads him to the next crucial area: speed reading and information absorption.
Ah, yes, a logical and essential next step. Having a strong memory is vital, but the ability to efficiently acquire information in the first place is equally critical for effective and timely learning, especially today.
He was definitely looking forward to this section after his success with the Memory Palace. The book begins by stressing a crucial point: the importance of balancing reading speed with comprehension.
Absolutely critical. There's no benefit in racing through text if you don't understand what you've read. Reading at lightning speed without retaining or understanding the material is, well, simply an exercise in futility. The goal is to enhance both speed and comprehension synergistically.
The first technique the book introduces is minimizing subvocalization. This is something many of us do subconsciously, silently mouthing or repeating words in our heads as we read. It turns out this internal monologue acts as a significant bottleneck to our reading speed.
Exactly. Subvocalization essentially ties your reading speed to your internal speaking speed, which is considerably slower than the rate at which your eyes can actually process visual information. Bypassing this internal recitation allows for a much faster intake of textual data.
The book suggested a surprisingly simple method to curb this habit: gently using your finger to follow along the lines of text as you read.
Hmm.
Raghav admitted feeling a bit awkward at first, like he was relearning to read. But he was amazed at how quickly his reading pace increased. He noticed his eyes started to take in entire chunks of text rather than focusing on individual words.
The finger acts as a visual pacer, yeah. It guides your eyes across the page and discourages them from fixating on single words or mentally repeating them. It encourages a smoother, more continuous flow of visual processing.
Another technique involved actively training his eyes to focus on reading blocks of text, aiming to see entire sentences or even paragraphs at a single glance. Raghav found this challenging initially. It required conscious effort, but he observed a gradual improvement with consistent practice.
This shifts your reading from a linear word-by-word approach to a more holistic processing of ideas. It encourages your brain to recognize patterns and grasp the meaning within a broader context, leading to both faster reading and actually deeper understanding.
Then came the pre-reading strategy, which consists of 4 key steps. First, quickly surveying headings and subheadings. Second, identifying and focusing on the main points. Third, reading the first and last sentences of each paragraph. And fourth, mentally dividing the text into smaller, manageable sections.
Right, breaking it down.
And the book also emphasized the importance of setting clear objectives before you even start reading, asking yourself, what do I get out of this?
This proactive approach prepares your brain to receive and filter the information more effectively. It creates mental anchors, sort of, and helps you prioritize what's important based on your learning goals.
Raghav decided to test this out on a work report. He consistently found dense and, frankly, tedious. By employing these pre-reading techniques, he managed to read it in just 20 minutes, a task that usually took him an hour.
Wow, that's a significant difference.
Yeah. And he was also able to quickly identify the core issues and surprise his boss with his insightful analysis.
That's a concrete illustration of how these techniques can translate to real-world efficiency gains, allowing you to extract key information quickly and apply it effectively. It's not just theoretical.
The book strongly emphasized that consistent practice is crucial for making these speed reading techniques automatic and intuitive. Raghav made it a point to practice for about 15 minutes every morning using old magazines, and even put up a little reminder in his workspace that read, "Read faster, understand better."
That kind of consistent reinforcement is vital for any new skill to become ingrained as a natural habit. Regular practice strengthens the neural pathways associated with these new reading strategies. It's like training any muscle.
And it really paid off. When his boss assigned him a substantial 50-page project report with a tight deadline, Raghav confidently applied all his new skills: the pre-reading, the block reading, minimizing subvocalization, and completed it with good comprehension in just 2 hours, once again impressing his manager.
Fantastic. This demonstrates the powerful cumulative effect of these techniques. When used in combination, they can significantly enhance your capacity to process and comprehend large volumes of information efficiently, which is, let's face it, a valuable asset in almost any field today.
Okay, so Raghav is now reading much faster, but he starts to notice that he's not always retaining everything he reads. This realization leads him to the next essential skill: effective note-taking methods.
This is a natural and important progression. Efficiently taking in information is only half the battle. You also need effective strategies to retain and recall that information later. Otherwise, what's the point?
He felt like the traditional note-taking approaches he'd relied on since his school days, just transcribing endless sentences and bullet points weren't really serving him well anymore.
Right, the old passive approach.
The book introduces a different philosophy. Effective note-taking isn't about verbatim recording, but rather about actively organizing information in a way that resonates with your cognitive processes.
Exactly. The emphasis shifts from passive transcription to active engagement with the material. Effective note-taking should facilitate deeper understanding, aid in memory retention, and crucially, make it easier to review the information in the future.
The first technique the book highlights is mind mapping. Raghav was intrigued by the name and pictured it as a visual way to connect ideas, almost like brainstorming on paper.
Uh-huh.
The book explained it as starting with a central topic and then branching out with related information, visually illustrating the connections and hierarchy between different concepts.
Mind mapping leverages the brain's natural preference for visual and spatial organization. The radial structure allows you to see the relationships between different ideas at a glance, which can enhance both understanding and recall. It works with your brain, not against it.
Raghav immediately decided to try this out with his current office project plan. He placed office project plan in the center of a page and then created main branches for key aspects like budget, team members, and timeline, further subdividing these into more specific details like resource allocation and expense tracking.
Good example.
He found that this visual representation made the complex interdependencies much clearer compared to his usual linear notes. Like he could see the whole picture.
The visual hierarchy and the strategic use of keywords in mind mapping can significantly improve both your comprehension during the note-taking process and your ability to retrieve the information later on. It's much less dense than pages of text.
The book also advocated for making notes more generally visual, explaining that our brains process images far more rapidly and effectively than plain text.
So true.
Raghav started incorporating colored pencils to differentiate the branches in his mind. Maps blue for budget, green for team members, red for timeline, and found that this made the information even more memorable and engaging.
The addition of color and other visual elements adds another layer of encoding, making the notes more stimulating and easier for your brain to access and remember. It just sticks better.
Then he encountered the Cornell Method, which was new to him. This involves dividing your note-taking page into 3 distinct sections: the main nud section, a narrower cue section on the left, and a summary section at the bottom.
Ah, the Cornell method, yes. Very structured.
Raghav experimented with this during a project meeting, jotting down key points in the notes area, relevant keywords, and prompting questions in the cue section, and then summarizing the entire meeting in his own words at the bottom. He realized this method not only helped him stay engaged during the meeting, but also provided a concise and effective way to review the key takeaways afterward.
The Cornell method encourages active listening and synthesis of information. That cues section acts as a prompt for later recall, and the summary forces you to condense the core ideas into your own words, which really deepens understanding.
Another practical tip was the use of symbols and shortcuts in notes to save time and streamline review. Raghav started using a star symbol for particularly important points, a question mark for things he needed to clarify, and an arrow for immediate action items. Simple stuff, but effective.
These personalized shorthand techniques significantly increase efficiency during note-taking and make your notes more targeted and easier to quickly scan for key information later. Less writing, more thinking.
The book wisely emphasized that the best note-taking method is the one that works for you, encouraging experimentation and adaptation to find a personalized approach.
Crucial point. There's no single magic bullet.
Raghav took this advice to heart, blending elements of mind mapping, visual cues, and the Cornell method to create his own effective system. Interestingly, his boss soon noticed the clarity and practicality of Raghav's notes, and even asked him to share his methods with the rest of the team.
Oh, wow.
A real turning point in Raghav's learning journey and a testament to the power of effective note-taking.
That external recognition really underscores the tangible benefits of effective note-taking, not just for individual learning, but also for improving team communication and collaboration. It's fantastic.
All right, so Raghav has equipped himself with strategies for memory, speed reading, and note-taking. But the book then delves into an even more foundational aspect that underpins all learning, cultivating a growth mindset.
Yes, this shift from external techniques to internal beliefs is absolutely crucial. Learning isn't solely about acquiring skills, it's also deeply intertwined with your mindset and your beliefs about your own potential. It's the foundation, really.
This particular chapter had a profound impact on Raghav. He'd often heard about the importance of mindset, but hadn't truly internalized it.
Hmm.
The book stated unequivocally that your potential is not fixed. It grows with effort, dedication, and a willingness to learn. This resonated deeply with Raghav as he began to recognize how his own limiting beliefs might have been hindering his progress. He recalled numerous instances where he'd shied away from challenges, convinced that certain things were simply beyond his capabilities.
And that's the core of a fixed mindset, isn't it? Operating under the assumption that intelligence and abilities are largely innate and unchangeable. Conversely, a growth mindset embraces the belief that these qualities can be developed and enhanced through perseverance and dedicated effort.
The book emphasized that adopting a growth mindset involved viewing challenges not as threats or indicators of inadequacy, but as valuable opportunities for learning and development. Raghav reflected on situations at work where he'd avoided tackling new skills simply because they appeared too difficult. He now understood that he himself had been creating those limitations.
That reframing of challenges is incredibly powerful. Instead of being obstacles that highlight perceived limitations, they become pathways for skill development and personal growth. It's a complete perspective shift.
One practical strategy the book suggested for fostering a growth mindset was setting small, achievable goals. Raghav started making a daily to-do list and focusing on accomplishing each task diligently, such as preparing his office report with extra care. The feeling of accomplishment from these small wins started to build his confidence.
These small, consistent successes create a positive feedback loop, reinforcing the belief in your ability to improve and take on increasingly challenging tasks. It builds momentum.
Another key element was learning to celebrate even small progress. Raghav admitted he was initially a bit cynical about this, like, really, praise myself.
Yeah, it can feel a bit strange at first.
But after successfully delivering a presentation he'd been quite nervous about, he consciously acknowledged his effort and was surprised to find that it genuinely boosted his confidence for future challenges.
Recognizing and appreciating your efforts, regardless of the outcome, strengthens a growth-oriented mindset. It shifts the focus from innate talent, or lack thereof, to the process of learning and improvement itself.
The book also stressed the importance of reframing failures, not as final defeats, but as valuable feedback mechanisms. Raghav thought back to a promotion interview where he hadn't been successful and realized that his initial reaction had been simply to blame himself.
A very common reaction.
He now understood the value of analyzing the experience to identify areas for improvement. He even started a practice of jotting down lessons learned from setbacks, like a project that hadn't been completed on schedule.
This shift from self-criticism to objective analysis is central to a growth mindset. It allows you to extract valuable insights from experiences that might otherwise be demoralizing, turning them into learning opportunities instead of dead ends.
Finally, the book discussed the technique of visualizing success, mentally picturing yourself achieving your goals. Raghav began incorporating this into his morning routine, vividly imagining himself succeeding in a future promotion interview, and he found it significantly increased his energy and his belief in his ability to achieve it.
Visualization can be a powerful tool for priming your brain for success. By mentally rehearsing positive outcomes, you can build confidence and increase your motivation to take the necessary steps to achieve your goals. It's not magic, it's mental preparation.
Overall, Raghav underwent a significant transformation, moving from a tendency to avoid difficult tasks to actively embracing them as challenges. He came to understand that a current lack of knowledge or skill doesn't equate to a permanent inability to learn and grow.
Exactly.
He even successfully completed a major project, attributing a significant part of his success to the growth mindset he had cultivated.
This really highlights how a growth mindset serves as the bedrock for effective learning. It provides the resilience, the motivation, and the positive outlook necessary to consistently apply learning techniques and overcome inevitable obstacles.
Now, shifting gears slightly, the book also delves into the crucial role of our surroundings in effective learning, specifically focusing on creating an optimal learning environment.
Right, because the physical space where you choose to learn and the routines you establish can have a surprisingly significant impact on your ability to focus, absorb, and retain information. It's often overlooked.
The book begins by emphasizing that your learning environment profoundly influences how well you can take in information. Raghav took a look around his own workspace. A chaotic mix of books, scattered notes, old bills, and a forgotten mug of tea,
We've all been there.
and realized that his physical clutter might be mirroring a certain mental disorganization.
A cluttered and distracting environment can create cognitive overload, making it harder to concentrate and efficiently process new information. It's like static for your brain.
His initial action was simple, yet impactful. He silenced his phone and placed it out of sight to minimize immediate distractions.
Eliminating distractions is a fundamental first step towards creating a focused and productive learning environment, maybe the most important step for many people.
The book then highlighted the importance of having a dedicated learning space, explaining how our brains form associations between specific environments and particular activities.
Context matters.
Raghav, who'd previously studied in various locations around his house, recognized that this lack of a consistent learning zone might be contributing to mental fatigue. He decided to create a dedicated corner in his home with just the essentials: a good reading lamp, his study materials, a comfortable notebook, and even a small plant to make the space feel more inviting.
Designating a specific area for learning acts as a powerful cue to your brain that it's time to focus, creating a mental switch that can enhance concentration and productivity, like putting on your learning hat.
Establishing consistent routines was also emphasized as a way to prepare the mind for focused work. Raghav, who didn't have a regular study schedule, decided to dedicate the hours of 7 to 9 every morning to studying in his new learning zone.
Good discipline.
He noticed a significant improvement in his mental clarity and ability to focus during these dedicated sessions.
Consistency in your learning schedule helps to regulate your body's natural rhythms and optimize your alertness and cognitive function during your study periods. Your brain learns when it's time to learn.
The book also addressed the impact of distracting noises, suggesting the use of noise-canceling headphones or perhaps calming instrumental music to create a more focused atmosphere. Additionally, it stressed the benefit of keeping learning materials well organized and readily accessible to minimize mental clutter and maintain concentration.
Minimizing sensory distractions and having your learning resources readily available reduces cognitive load and allows you to dedicate more mental energy to the learning task itself. No hunting for that pen or book.
Finally, the book suggested incorporating elements that promote enjoyment and relaxation into the learning environment, such as good lighting, an ergonomic chair for comfort, and even pleasant scents like lavender, maybe.
Yeah, making it a pleasant place to be.
Raghav made some adjustments to his learning corner based on these suggestions, noting a positive impact on his overall productivity. He also began experimenting with the Pomodoro technique, breaking his study sessions into focused 25-minute intervals with short breaks, finding it made learning less tiring and more effective.
These elements contribute to a more positive and conducive learning atmosphere, reducing stress and enhancing engagement, which ultimately leads to more effective learning. It shouldn't feel like punishment.
By consciously optimizing his learning environment, Raghav discovered it became significantly easier to concentrate, maintain focus, and ultimately unlock his full learning potential.
It really reinforces the idea that our external surroundings can have a profound and often underestimated influence on our internal learning processes. It's the whole package.
So, as Raghav reached the end of the book, he took the valuable step of reflecting on his entire learning journey and even wrote down all the key insights he had gained, a great way to solidify his understanding.
Absolutely. The act of summarizing and reflecting on what you've learned is a crucial step in consolidating new knowledge and transferring it to long-term memory. It makes it stick.
He mentally recapped the specific benefits of each technique: the memory palace for effortlessly recalling large amounts of information, speed reading for more efficient information intake, effective note-taking for better organization and comprehension, a growth mindset for embracing challenges and learning from setbacks, and an optimized learning environment for enhanced focus and productivity. He also recognized the significant personal growth he had experienced, a boost in confidence, improved presentation skills, and a more positive and proactive approach to challenges.
This holistic approach, addressing multiple facets of the learning process, the techniques, the mindset, the environment, is what leads to truly comprehensive and sustainable improvement in learning effectiveness.
The book's final message truly resonated with him. The real power of learning isn't just in knowing the techniques, but in consistently applying them in your daily life.
That's the core message, isn't it? Knowledge isn't power until it's applied.
Raghav resolved to continue his learning journey with these new tools and even to share his knowledge and experiences with others.
That commitment to lifelong learning and the desire to share knowledge are hallmarks of someone who has truly embraced the transformative power of education. It's inspiring.
So for you, our listener, Raghav's journey vividly illustrates that becoming a more effective and engaged learner isn't about possessing some innate elusive talent. It's about understanding and actively adopting practical, learnable skills and cultivating a supportive mindset.
Exactly. And while the book's title might offer a somewhat playful promise of rapid mastery, the true value lies in the collection of powerful, evidence-based strategies for lifelong learning and continuous personal growth that it presents. It's more than just a 48-hour trick.
And as you reflect on all the different techniques we've explored in this deep dive, from constructing your own mental memory palaces to nurturing a resilient growth mindset, consider this. Which of these strategies resonates most strongly with you right now?
Good question.
What is one small, actionable step you can take today to begin integrating it into your own learning journey? Think about how these principles could fundamentally shift your approach to acquiring new knowledge and skills, empowering you to learn more effectively and, well, with greater confidence.